The Role of the Constitution by Carl DeSoto. The Constitution is a plan of government. A government is a system of leaders and laws by which a community, state, or nation is governed. The United States Constitution sets up the national government. It says that all citizens should be treated fairly by government. It says that their freedom should be protected. Each state has a state constitution that sets up the government for that state. A state constitution must obey the United States Constitution. It cannot take away rights granted by the United States Constitution. The Constitution sets up the United States government as a democracy, which means that the people elect leaders to govern them. The government gets its power from the people, so it is a republic. Citizens elect leaders to represent them in government. The three branches. The United States Constitution organizes the national government into three branches or parts. These three branches are the legislative branch, the executive branch, and the judicial branch. Likewise, each state has a government divided into these three branches. The Constitution tells what each branch of the government can and cannot do. The legislative branch. The legislative branch of the government makes laws that the entire nation must follow. Congress is the main body of the legislative branch. Congress is made up of two parts, the Senate and the House of Representatives. The Senate has 2 senators elected from each state, 100 in all. The number of representatives elected from each state depends on the state's population. The more residents a state has, the more representatives it is allowed to elect to the House of Representatives. All states, except Nebraska, also have a legislative branch made up of a state Senate and a House of Representatives. Nebraska has just one house. The executive branch. The executive branch carries out the laws made by Congress. The President of the United States is the leader of the executive branch. When the president takes office, he or she promises to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. At the state level, the leader of the executive branch is the governor. The judicial branch. The judicial branch is made up of the Supreme Court as well as other courts. The Supreme Court is the nation's highest court. It is made up of 9 judges called justices. The justices are chosen by the president and approved by Congress. The justices make sure laws agree with the Constitution and are carried out fairly. Similarly, each state has a judicial branch made up of a state Supreme Court and various other courts. If you look at the chart, it shows you the branches of the federal government. The legislative branch makes national laws, and it's made up of the Senate and House of Representatives. The executive branch enforces national laws, and it's led by the President of the United States. The judicial branch makes sure laws agree with the Constitution, and it's made up of the Supreme Court and other courts. Rights and freedoms. The United States Constitution provides rights and freedoms for American citizens. The Bill of Rights is a part of the Constitution. It lists the many rights and freedoms of American citizens. These freedoms include freedom of the press, freedom of speech, and freedom of religion. It also protects Americans accused of crimes by giving them the right to a trial by jury. One important right is the right to choose leaders and make decisions by majority rule. Under the Constitution, each citizen who is at least 18 years old gets 1 vote in an election. The winner is the person or idea that gets the most votes. Duties of citizens. Americans' rights are balanced by duties. For example, the right to choose leaders is balanced by the duty to vote. The right to a jury trial is balanced by the duty to serve on a jury. The government provides services for American citizens. It maintains the military to protect the country in times of war. It helps people rebuild their communities after natural disasters. In return, citizens have the duty to pay taxes. The money from taxes pays for the costs of running the government. The Constitution gives the government the right to collect taxes. This is a chart that shows the presidential election voter turnout rates between 1960 and 2008. The graph shows the percentage of people eligible to vote who actually voted in presidential elections from 1960 to 2008. In most years, more than half of eligible voters did their duty by voting to elect the president. In recent years, more than 60% of eligible voters cast ballots or voted.